the topic here is vaccine versus cure. Okay. And so we have COVID that's just like a shit show. And as I understand it, it's basically like the flu. So we already have like 8 or 9 different variations of COVID, which is terrible. I'm also investing to create value and help companies too, right? I'm not just doing it for my own benefit, but I'm also looking at it as like a short term, where is the maximum gain for companies, and also in turn where my investment goes also creates return for myself. And the whole roundabout way of saying this is I feel like there is more to be had if you invest in a cure rather than a vaccine, because to me vaccine is going to be like down the road, and that's probably going to be an ongoing thing because the virus will mutate, and then you gotta have to create new vaccines. That to me is a different problem. The near term, we have all-time high with this COVID situation. People are going to expect cures. Insurances are going to have to end up like carrying cures because that's like the humane expectation. And so therefore, I think we should be investing in cures right now. What are your thoughts on that?
Interesting. I mean, I've seen the Moderna and what was it, Pfizer? Those are vaccines, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so actually, I don't know this. Are there any companies investing in cures right now?
So this is really interesting, right? And I learned this like this one time I listened to my mother. I learned about the fact that like what Donald Trump took is essentially is a cure, and it's created by fuck, god damn it, what is it called?
Gilead.
Gilead.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Gilead. Yeah. So there is. I mean, like I don't honestly know how effective it is, but it sure as hell cured him, and he's not exactly in the perfect health, right? So I feel like there's a shot, and actually just a side note, what's most interesting to me, I think only doctors and people who actually do research on this will know that apparently the cure came from like the drug was built for curing HIV, except
Interesting.
yeah it got spun off into curing this instead. But anyway, so that's that.
I see. Interesting. I think so. Looking at Gilead stock and Moderna and also Pfizer, everything is up a tremendous amount, right? So there's two parts to the kind of this whole thing, which is should you invest in this company regardless because hypothetically you're boosting up the valuation of the company and they can issue more shares, and therefore you're implicitly helping them fundraise for the cure or the vaccine, whatever form it might take.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very noble thing. And there's clearly momentum in that from the price, just literally from a price perspective, like literally things going up based on this news.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah, if you because I have no idea what's going to happen with regards to whether it's a cure, vaccine, or something else. Yeah. So if you actually believe in one of these companies having a high market share of the vaccine of whatever the vaccine or a vaccine, yeah, sure, buy the company. I would say that I haven't looked at what is priced in, and it's probably really hard to triangulate what priced in even means at this stage.
Right.
I would say so further down the road, maybe not an investment to put on tomorrow, but once Americans and other people globally are getting the vaccine or the cure, and you get that needle injection or whatever it is, that's probably a good side to be shorting these companies, to be honest. Because especially if it's a cure. If it's a cure, that's a one-time thing. That's a one-time revenue, right? And there is, assuming, like, looking at these stock prices, there is something significantly being priced in to these companies. And assuming you cure everyone of this thing, and one time you make $100 billion, that's great. And maybe not 100 billion, so let's say 10 billion, and that's great.
Yeah.
And cool. What about next year? Oh, next year your revenues are back to what it was like 3 years ago. Okay, cool. So the valuation is going to come down significantly.
Yeah.
And similarly with the vaccine, though not to the same extent, is fine. You vaccinate everyone. That's going to be great for the revenue, like near term, and it will peak at some point. But there's still a rally there. If there is a vaccine, especially if it takes like 6 to 12, 18 months to kind of deploy, because you're going to have all those quarters of really nice year-on-year and quarter-on-quarter growth.
Yeah.
But that said, eventually it's going to peak. You think about like, let's say Ebola. Yeah, that's a horrible disease, and there's a lot of vaccines for everything else. But that doesn't make a company worth a lot of money, especially if you think about a vaccine. If a high percentage of people actually get it, and if you buy into the idea that maybe 3 years down the road, if there's enough cooperation, amongst humanity, and this thing is eradicated, then there's no need for the vaccine either. Who knows if that will actually happen? Maybe we take this vaccine every single year for the rest of our lives, in which case, these companies stay at the same price or higher. But I think generally when I think about like an investment, like something like this, where it's very story driven and it's very news driven, I try to triangulate with the random walk theory of just a stock price can do anything at any point, and it's totally random, which I don't believe. But I benchmark myself against that, and then I think of the opposite. How do I lose as much money as possible? What would be the most obvious way to lose money? Yeah. And then I try to think about like, what is everyone else doing? Because sometimes you want to be contrarian if you can kind of see a further along. Because right now everyone's just like, vaccine cure, boom, stock goes up 15, 20, 30% in a day, which is great. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and it probably continues for another 6 months or maybe even 12 months. But at some point, it's going to be a massive short.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I do agree with it for the most part, and I am also of the habit that like trying to think the worst scenario, what can go wrong, and what's most likely to go wrong. Like I think that's a very healthy exercise to do on any form of investment. For this particular though, I kind of disagree with you though, because I still think that because it's like a flu, your vaccine's gonna like someone's constantly had to create new vaccines. That's my honest opinion right now. But the thing is, like I do agree with you in the sense that it'll eventually get built into the value of the company, so it becomes basically kind of irrelevant, right? Because the price is built in and it just kind of goes at its merry way. But this is still the reason why I'm still looking at Cure, because to me there is an immediate value that I don't think has built into the Gilead stock yet, because I'm just looking at the chart and frankly it looks like shit. It's been trending down for quite a long time, and I frankly.
Oh really? Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not completely sure. I mean, like I'm looking at its year-over-year revenue, and it's definitely been trending down too.
Oh yeah! Wow, Gilead looks horrible. Jesus, I had no idea.
Yeah, which is why this is also the other reason why I feel like a buying opportunity is coming up if they can actually capitalize on, making this cure widely available through insurance and whatnot, right? So this is why I actually think that I would suggest buying cures rather than vaccines at this time, specifically Gilead.
I see. I mean, my own point of view is I have no idea. and when I think about like even the previous investment bank I used to work at, the equity research guys, the people that you generally cover pharma are medical doctors. I know for a fact I will get destroyed by picking individual stocks, because there are people that know significantly more than me. They know like literally the chemicals.
Yeah.
Which is like even one chemical by itself, I'm like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
So in that case, generally, like if I buy something like this, I would buy a basket where it's diversified enough.
Interesting. Okay, I completely get where you're coming from as well. In this instance, because my mom is a doctor and she is saying that this thing is making a difference, I mean, I'm telling you viewers right now, I'm investing in it. I could very well be wrong. My mom can probably maybe leading me down
We
the
got
wrong
the
road.
inside scoop.
The other interesting thing, just kind of for shits and giggles, and a little bit of value here, is apparently Gilead also has come up with treatment for hepatitis, which apparently there wasn't a cure for it before, but Gilead has come up with it now. So I mean, like, it sounds exciting to a doctor. Then to me, there's probably some value in this stock, and that's one of my recommendations for now. I think it's safe as a short term bet at least. Let's say 3 to 6 months.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, John. This has been a fulfilling hour. Really appreciate your time. Always waiting for you to come back next time. We'll pick another interesting topic. All right, John.
Cool.
Have a good night.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Catch
Take
you
care.
later. See ya.
See ya.